Oh my gosh.
We're going to be broadcasting, myself, Lou Collins, and the wonderful Catherine Watkins, for 36 hours straight. Trying to raise awareness for people to wake up and start talking about our children and the education that is going on within our classrooms and how our children are being groomed through sexual ideology, gender ideology, and all sorts of other nonsense. Hello.
Hello.
Here we are.
I know, I can't believe it. I'm so looking forward to this next 36
It's going to be crazy. We've been working, well, Jason and Yvonne has been here, and Rick's up in Bristol. We're down here in Cardiff. They've been working to get a virtual studio set up, so it's all still a work in progress, so we might
so
take
bear
into
with
our
us. Yeah, we could
troubles. We may not have a studio, well, who knows, but Jason hasn't stopped. And we've had nothing but technical difficulties already, but it's going to go fine. The fundraiser, I want to talk about the fundraiser. We are currently sitting at 7,884. Now, Podcast-athon 2 raised
5,980 out of that figure.
Okay, so we've raised
£1,904. Yeah.
We've just had another £100 donation in, haven't we?
Yeah, I think, yeah, we did. We've had another £100.
So we're up to £2,000 for the start of this podcast-athon. We would love to make it better than all the others and maybe get up to £10,000. The guest lineup we have is incredible. It's being brought to you for free, and all we're asking is a couple of donations. So these brave parents, 5 of them, and we have one here today, are taking the Welsh government to court. They lost. It was the Welsh government, wasn't it? And they lost.
Yeah, they lost a judicial review, but
the appeal's going in.
Obviously. Yeah.
So we got PCP here. That's what we're doing it for. We're doing it for every child in the UK, not just for Wales, to raise awareness and get this education out of our schools
once and for all.
Yeah.
So,
a few words, my dear. What do you think?
This is going to be a really interesting weekend. We've done it twice before, guys, but obviously a lot has happened since. When did we do the last one? November, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So obviously we had the judicial review after that. Well, it was a few weeks later, wasn't it? On the 16th and 17th, I think, or 15th and 16th of November. We're at appeal stage at the moment. We're still waiting to hear back. It has gone in front of a judge, so we're just waiting back for that. And loads of things has been happening. We know, recently the big surge. Actually, there was one this morning. Drag Time Story Hour. There was I think it was, where was that? Lewisham,
yeah.
Lewisham at the
Royal Oak.
No, it was Honour Oak or something like that. Honour Oak pub, but that's actually going on right now. So, and I know that a lot of people even viewing this who don't even know what's going on in schools are seeing the drag queen stuff coming up. So we'll be talking quite a lot about that. And like I said, there's just going to be so many amazing guests on across the pond as well. We've got America and Canada. Ireland as well. There's been lots going on in Ireland, so we're going to be hearing where how it is in different parts of the world, and bearing in mind, guys, that this is a global education, so it's already in 52 countries worldwide. But so we have got the lovely Lucia Thomas with us
to kick us off, to open us
up before our first guest, which is Richard Vobes,
and he's already been on, confirmed he's going to be here today. Hello, Lucia. Welcome to our studio in Cardiff, and a big thank you. Huge thank you to Rhiannon.
Hey, just before we kick off, we do have a little bit of back feed. We are working on a couple of technical issues. Jason's going to sort that out.
You just destroyed.
So here we are. Hello, Lucia, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
Thank you for coming.
It's an absolute honour to be in the studio.
One of the wonders that we've done is, what Jason's done. We're in somebody's house. Friend of Rhiannon has very kindly donated the use of his house to broadcast this today. So thank you to Rhiannon.
Yeah, massive thank you.
Over to you, Lou. What's going on with PCP Wales? What's happening?
Right, okay, so I think you introduced a little bit about, obviously being raising awareness regarding the RSE, and we took it to court. The court case didn't go in our favour. So PCP Wales were facilitating the court case, raising money, raising awareness with regards to it. And me, myself, I am not a claimant, although Kim Aisherwood, who's the chair of PCP Wales, she's the lead claimant. I'm the spokesperson for the remaining claimants. Obviously not for Kim, because she's the spokesperson for herself. So at the moment, obviously, we had the court case on the 15th of November. It didn't go in our favour. More on that later. I'm sure we'll go through what went on in the actual court itself and the judgment. We are actually currently going through an appeal process, so we're waiting on the courts, aren't we, Kath?
It's been it could be any time now, guys, to be honest. We don't have an exact time or date or how long it's even going to take, but the appeal has gone in and we're just waiting basically for it to go in front of a judge and for them to make a decision on the appeal. So fingers crossed. But I think, I do think everything that's come out at the moment, it might even swing it in our favour regardless, because it's kicking off everywhere.
It is,
you know what I mean? It'd be difficult for the decision for the judge to say no to it,
Exactly like everything we've been saying over the last couple of years. It's all coming out now. We're seeing the actual. We're seeing it in real time, aren't we?
Yeah. And now we've got to obviously supporting you. The claimants. The case is also important, but now is also push to raise awareness. We've got to start a movement, isn't it? A lot of it has got to do with that. We've got to start a movement to protect the children of the UK. And this weekend, yes, about raising money, but also about the 17th of May in Parliament. So what's going to happen that day? What's the plan for the 17th of May?
17th of May, we're going to be outside the Westminster. Outside Westminster in London. And we're going to be doing a massive demonstration. We got some really good speakers coming from around the UK. So this is about showing everyone that England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales, we're actually all uniting together to fight against this RSE. It's not called RSE in all countries, it's SRE.
Health and well-being. It's dressed up as a lot of things.
To the PSHE.
Yes, it's different. They call it different names. I suppose just to confuse everyone, but
it's the same education.
Yeah, it's comprehensive sexuality education, and you only got to put that in a search, and you'll see what that actually means. And it's not the type of education you want your children to be learning. It completely goes against anyone who is of a religious or takes a different stand against a different stand on sex education than these people who seem to be favouring promiscuous behaviour, sexual freedom. If you don't want your children to be educated in those type of things, then you don't want them to be educated on RSE, because that's exactly what RSE derives from. So
yes, it's a sex positive. That's the thing. All the information I've been reading and the resources that the teachers are being given to use in school, it's not. I think, and most people think, oh yeah, it's from a safeguarding point of view for this, that, and the other. It's a really sex positive education. It's it's all about it is all about sexual freedom and whatever. It's not. I think most people are under the assumption then that it's about safeguarding them and the consequences of consent, not the fact that they're teaching them how to consent, and that on the back of the UN last week, they almost, decriminalising, they're in the process of decriminalising sex between adults and minors on the consensual basis. So, but at the same time, they're teaching 3-year-old children how to consent. You can see where this agenda is feeding through, in policy as well, in politics, and this is just such a dangerous time at the moment, really, isn't it?
And that's why the important work that you guys are doing is so important, because there's nobody else who's got as far as you. There's nobody else that's fighting. And my whole thing is this is not fair that these 5 people have got this burden which the whole of the UK should be carrying, not just 5 people. And that's why we're doing this. We've got to raise awareness. Come on, fathers, mothers, grandparents, do you want whatever? Do you really want your children knowing about these things? Really, deep down in your heart, do you think this is right?
Yeah.
Really, search deeply.
It's and when we did recently, we did a 10-day tour around Wales. Yeah. Now, the general consensus of the public is they do not want this education. But unfortunately, a lot of people know it's wrong. They know they don't want it, but they're not doing anything about it, whether it's because they're too scared, to sort of stand up. They're worried that, people, because what we're finding as well, when we are objecting to this education, we're having slurs thrown at us saying, oh, it's because you're homophobic, it's because you're transphobic. And it's like, no, it's nothing to do with that. We are actually there to just protect the children, and we believe that children shouldn't be learning about sex, sexuality, or anything, whether it mean gay, straight, whatever.
Yeah.
We don't, like, our campaign is purely to do with, looking after childhood innocence, and that is all. What adults do, that's up to them. We're not interfering with those with anything to do with that. So the general consensus is they don't want it, but how many people are doing anything about it?
That's the other thing, isn't it?
Because we want teachers now. For example, now we have got people who have gone up to their head teachers to speak about their concerns regarding this education. There's not enough of you. There is only, a couple of people going, and the rest of you are either not in the know or you're too scared to move forward. Whereas if head teachers were having 30 or 40 parents speak, it's going to make a massive difference, and they're going to have to do something about, curbing the filth.
That's it. One or two, they can sort of tap away, and we see it happen
exactly.
time and time again. It's very easy to just make that one or two people look small and look like they're in the wrong, or they're over exaggerating. But like Lou said, if you've got 40, like Ellie Barnes herself said, Ellie Barnes is one of the
We'll be playing it out later,
influencers, I should say.
We'll be playing that video out later.
Yeah, we'll play out a video what she said, and she's basically telling educators or teachers not to tell the parents what they're about to embark on, because you don't want a mob of angry parents at your door.
It's insane.
She is a highly influential player in this education. The book that the resource that she wrote was, what was it I did the blog on? How to transform your school into an LGBT friendly place, and it was like reading a groomer's manual. I was really.
And we'll be
shocked.
going through a lot of that later throughout the course of the weekend. I mean, I'd like just to run through a few of the guests that we've got lined up, because it really is incredible. Now we've got the wonderful Richard Vobes lined up to come on very, very shortly, followed by.
We've got an hour then.
We've got an hour, so we'll have some more chat with Lucia. Then we're going to have Matt Letitia on for 2:00. Then we've got the wonderful Paul Fitcher's going to be popping in. I know he's been doing a lot of videos on YouTube, his ramblings of a madman.
He's been brilliant.
So thank you, Paul, for helping support us here. And he's also, we've got the chat button as well. So all the places that you can donate and watch this podcast, go to Liberty Tactics. It's the first thing on the front page. You should be able to see it, and you should be able to see it in all the links. Anyway, you should be able to hopefully see it across the screen. There's Liberty Tactics down the bottom, and the fundraiser is there. We've had a tenner in since we've started. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank
We'd
you
like
very
it to
much.
be going on, because we are going to be here. There's going to be 36 hours, and we haven't had that massive amount of sleep either.
We'll be all right.
We'll be absolutely fine though.
Adrenaline,
we'll be fine.
We've got so after Matt Letitia, we're going to have the wonderful Sandy Adams. Thank you, Sandy, again.
We got Nigel first.
Oh, we got Nigel Thorne. He's going to be coming. Is he coming in, or is he doing
No,
it
he's going to do it
Zoom?
over Zoom. But people would have seen Nigel's videos for the gender identity videos. That he's very, very good on that. His videos are amazing. Actually, should have more people subscribing to them, because he talks about he basically puts the information out and then explains over it, Nigel. And Facebook were doing a big thing about, they were really censoring him, weren't they? So
is he Turf Man? Is he called
Turf
Man on
YouTube?
YouTube?
On YouTube. Yeah, and he's fantastic. Follow Nigel. We're speaking to him, and then we've got Sandy Adams.
Sandy Adams is on. Then we got the lovely Alex Thompson's going to be joining us, the UK column.
Sid Caudle,
and the wonderful Sid Caudle from the Christian People's Alliance. He's going to be joining us. We've got lovely Adele from PCP. She's going to be coming in at 8. Does she come into the studio? We're doing that on Zoom.
I don't know. I'll send her a message when I get a chance. And
then we've got lovely George Sandu. He's going to be on later, talking a lot to do with pornography.
It's going to be the porn. So we put him on a bit later, just to try and keep it out of.
And
DJ Slipmat then, and Dave Stone.
Yeah, we've got a music set about 11 o'clock, and an interview with the wonderful DJ Slipmat. Thank you, Matt, for supporting us from day one. So I can't thank you enough for all you've done for us. And at 11 o'clock tonight, we will be
Taking
speaking
us up to
over
midnight.
Taking us up to midnight is the wonderful Dave Sumrall from StopHate.com. And again, he's another one who has been here supporting us.
Yeah, and the rest then are from midnight tomorrow. But we'll
we can
talk
go
about
through
them
that later because we've got Richard Vobes in the waiting room now. So hopefully he's going to be here. Have we got him in? Have we got Richard?
Hello,
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
We're okay now. We're only into 1 hour though at the moment.
15
How
minutes.
exciting.
We've got very pale all of a sudden. I don't want to say it. We've gone like transparent.
Yeah.
Is that because the blood has drained out of you?
Well, yes. It's also, yeah.
The enormity of the task ahead of you.
I know. God knows we won't even be
trying.
here. We'll be ghosts by tomorrow. Richard, thank you for joining us. You
My pleasure.
have just come back from a ban on YouTube. Is it your first one?
Yes, my first one, as if I'm going to have more. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? What a weird experience that was, because I'm quite prolific, and then suddenly, I can't access anything. You can't even access the community bit where you can say, I'm not around for a week. I've been put inside. You can't even do that. So it's a big thanks to those other YouTubers who've actually told other people, said Richard's not dead, or he's not gone.
So what was the big sin?
The big sin was medical misinformation.
That's what I got taken down.
Yeah, which
Okay.
it's like, that's it. You get no more explanation than that. And you think, what bit of the medical? Because I thought I was telling the truth, or at least trying to.
You were.
So so you and you don't get a chance. You get a chance to appeal, and they say, would you like to look at your video again and just see where it is you've gone wrong? And you kind of go, well, I know what I did in the video. I know what I said. That's why I put it up. You don't get a chance to edit it and say, actually, I'll just edit that bit out then, shall I, where we mentioned this or we talked about that. And then, you no chance to do that. And if you did, you say, okay, I'm sorry I encroached your very vague and slightly various terms and conditions. And as I've strayed, I'll put it right. But you don't get a chance to put it right.
Oh, you were lucky to get your account back, actually, Richard, because they had me 2 years ago, but I didn't even get a warning. They just suspended my YouTube account for medical misinformation.
Did
so
they?
When they say medical misinformation, it's misinformation because it doesn't agree with their narrative, basically.
Yes.
Yes.
It doesn't. It's nothing to do with the truth. It's just you're not saying what they want you to say. Is how I interpret it. And unless they tell me differently, that's it. So. Tell me, ladies, what is what are you aiming for we're going to get hopefully lots of people to put some money to the cause.
The main thing we're looking for is one, obviously, it's now exposure.
Yes.
Obviously the money is really important, as I just explained when we went on there, but it's unfair. It's 5 parents are taking the burden, and it's going to affect every child in the UK. They lost the first judicial review. Appeals are going in. But they've already had it. How much is it that you've already been? How much have you spent on court fees? Has the government?
How much have they requested?
Requested and told you you've got to pay them for challenging it.
Right. So they've said 75,000 altogether. We've paid them approximately 22. They wanted 50 straight away.
Blimey.
So we had 22,
here
which
it
we
is.
had passed. Yeah. Exactly. I'll just look at the back of my sofa. Actually, I've got a bit
Just
of
slips
change
down there, doesn't it?
Yeah, so we've paid over 22 because we had 22 left in the fundraiser after our legal costs. So that's been paid over. So since the appeal, they haven't pushed any more, but they had sent some threatening emails previous to the appeal saying we must have this 50 grand straight away, otherwise they're going to want to see.
Well, they were going to come around with a warrant, weren't they, claiming assets?
They wanted to see a list of assets, didn't they, for the claimants? They even mentioned the list of assets for PCP Wales as well, even though we're not actual claimants on the court. But they gave us that threatening email anyway. But since the appeal process, they have been a bit quiet. So I suppose yeah, it's a case of the appeal process is going through the courts at the minute. So with any luck, we'll win this, win the appeal. I'm not like I'm not holding my breath, but you know, if we do win it, obviously we don't have to pay those fees. But in order to continue with this process, we do need to continue raising funds. Otherwise, we may get stopped out. We don't want to do that.
Hoping for. That is what they're hoping for.
Yeah.
I have yet to make my donation, but I want to, you very kindly let me be the first of many of these incredible and distinguished people. I feel a little bit fraudulent seeing as I'm relatively new to the party, but let me kick it off. I want to put £100 into the cause straight away.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, you know, that's gets everybody hopefully going with a real positive message, because it is important. It's our next generation. That's the thing, isn't it? It's the next generation, and if we're not protecting our kids, what are we doing?
Exactly.
That's exactly it, Richard. That's exactly how we feel.
Yeah,
It's
what kind of society are we in if we can't, and if we don't, then the future looks pretty bleak, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And our kids have enough with the whole education system, you know, and all the things that they're being taught. And the manipulation, the subtle manipulation of keeping them behind screens and not getting out into the countryside, the fear from stranger danger, and all of that, which, you know, and I think back to my childhood, it was a long time ago now, in the 60s and 70s. It was carefree. We got on our bikes. Our mums didn't see us until tea time. Off we went. They didn't have a worry about where we were. And these days you just think, blimey, you know, we're now very petrified about where our kids are, who they're talking to, and all of that, and quite rightly so. Yeah. But times have changed.
It was the introduction of technology which definitely brought that, didn't it? Because, like you say, we were out all day, and our parents literally wouldn't see us. No. But we used to be in big groups as well. See,
yes,
and now everyone's
that's right.
sort of disconnected from each other because little Johnny's playing on his Xbox, and next door Matthew's playing, and they're actually not interacting, you know, on a personal level in real life. Then it's this all virtual,
and you don't know who they're playing with. Somebody across the world, and you know, the kid is trying to navigate at 8, 9, 10, whatever the age is, and think they know everything. Yeah. And then as parents, you're sort of, you know, you think, well, hold on a minute. Are you sure he is of you? Oh yeah, no, it's all right. It's fine. I'm fine. But it's, you know, and they may be, you know, they're having to grow up very quickly and be astute. But of course, we have our own lives of world knowledge behind us that gives us the anxiety, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But,
and you can see how it's actually damaging the society already, because, you know, looking at our generation and upwards, we all know that, you know, this blatant sexualization of children and being in the same vicinity as drag queens is just bizarre and it's not appropriate. Yes. But the young parents now, they don't, because they've been indoctrinated into this, you know, very far sort of left liberal you know, ideology, then they're not seeing it. It's normally when we speak to elderly people, don't you? When you see it and they're like, whoa, because they knew that, you know, it shouldn't have happened.
No, on a different note, when we were at the courts, because we went down to the courts when the day of the appeal was on, Richard, over the course of the days, there were some school kids that were hanging around, and I actually got the recording of their audio when I asked them. They're only about 14, and I said, what do you think of this? He goes, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. You know, turning teachers into paedophiles, and that's what came from these school kids.
Which is that's
they're not interested in it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Richard, they're targeting the little ones. This is what. Why don't they just give them a chance to at least reach puberty?
Yeah.
But why does a 3-year-old doesn't know even how to tie their shoe?
It's because they know they're more easily manipulated at that age. Like, for example, like my children are, you know, my daughter's just turned 13 yesterday, and my son is 15. Now, if somebody told them now, you could be born in the wrong body, they're going to be like, what? Yeah. Unless they've already been indoctrinated.
Exactly.
You know, when they were younger, they're not going to, you know, sort of buy into that. But because, you know, like when they brought in this RSE in Wales, they insisted it was to do with reducing teenage pregnancies and STIs. And then they bring it in for the 3-year-olds first.
Exactly, yeah.
So, you know, like the 15-year-olds are not going to get it yet for another couple of years. So if it was really to do with preventing teenage pregnancies and STIs...
It's gone for the teenagers,
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's that thing about getting kids before they're 7, because those first 7 years are when kids are forming their vision of the world and what's right and what's wrong. And if you get that wrong, if it's manipulated by outside, not the parents sort of helping them, then they can accept all this nonsense.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the crucial time. Nobody should be indoctrinating your children. I mean, you know, as parents, they are your responsibility, and you need to have that control if you're putting your children into any educational system to know exactly what they're teaching every day.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why schools don't have a program that they give the parents to say, look, this is it. This is our 365 plan for your child.
Yeah.
Because you know, I think we've come to that point where now we start to be a bit more suspicious about what's going on in schools and what's being taught, and we really need to say, hang on a minute, you're asking for the governance of my child. You're going to influence my child with state-sponsored nonsense or whatever it is. I need to approve each and every lesson. So you could look at it for a week and go, yeah, okay, you're going to do dinosaurs, you're going to do Vikings. I approve of that. Are you going to do sexualization of children? Hold on, hang on. What did you say? And how are you going to do that? No, thank you. No, thank you. I don't consent to that. I mean, we parents clearly need to. I mean, my kids now are in their 30s, late 20s and 30s. They know where to tell me if I interfere with them. But I've got grandchildren.
Yeah.
And you know, to a certain, your studio's collapsing.
It's falling apart. Yes.
But I've got grandchildren, and you know, the only way I can really help that is to talk to my immediate children and say, look, you know, these are the things. Obviously, they're your children. It's not for me to influence you, but I just want to make these points. It might be worth having a chat to the school. It might be worth having an understanding of what goes on in the school these days. And so, you know, I think I'm always banging on about how we've got to take responsibility for our own lives and our children's lives whilst they're underage, and not farm out that responsibility like we do all the time now to, you know, the government have got to fix this, or the council must do this for us. No, hang on a minute. Why?
Yeah.
Why can't we stand on our own 2 feet anymore and say, no, it's all right. I don't want that. Thank you. Thank you for asking. Very nice idea, but I'm not interested.
Yeah. It's all about that, having well, this is the thing. When we had the judicial review, the Welsh government basically said, in a bit of a nutshell, when we were talking about obviously parental responsibility and parental rights, that we didn't have parental rights anyway, and if we did, they're very, very minuscule, and the only other options that you've got is to either private educate or home educate. Now the thing is that they knew that people were going to opt out of this, which is why they changed the curriculum, so that years ago they did have what was called PHSE or whatever it was, which was something similar to this, nowhere near as graphic, and it was when you were in your teen years, but you could opt out of it. The parents knew, because it was, say, one lesson every fortnight. It was literally once a fortnight as well, for an hour. It didn't take up any sort of big area of the curriculum, and your parents could opt you out of that. But what they've done now, that's why it's a new curriculum, is they've embedded it all the way through the curriculum, so it's in every single lesson, which then the only opt-out you've got is to take your school
out of your kids.
Take your child out of the school and privately educate or home educate, which is fine for those who are able to do it. Like I home educate my child. She'll be 13 this year, but she's been home educated since she was 4. But I was able to do that because me and her father had our own business from home, and you know, we were able to do it. And I do appreciate that it's made it really quite difficult now for a long time coming. Obviously, if we go back through the decades and the, the breakdown of the nuclear family, and all about the mother can go out and work, but really that was just about taxing the mother and taking the child into the state.
Yes.
So we're in this very dangerous position at the moment.
Well,
So-
yes, society has made sure that we have to be reliant on the state, isn't it? When it comes to like the education system. Oh, my child's in school years now, right? Okay.
Well, let's get them into school.
I can work.
Get them into nursery as soon as. I just struggle. Like, why would you have kids and then at 3 years of age, you're putting them into childcare?
Yes.
Yeah, it's 'cause
You're
everyone
letting
else does
other
it.
people with, you don't know what ideologies these people
You
have.
don't know.
You're putting them in. You're saying bye bye at the end of the day. They all look lovely at the door, and all the kids look happy, and the
Most of
staff
them,
all
some
look
of them
great.
are,
Yeah, some are, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you feel
mostly.
comfortable as
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
walking around, but at the end of the day, you don't know what ideology that they've got
Exactly.
going.
But if your state and your councils are not providing the services that you want, and they're not doing what you want, according to Article 61 of the Magna Carta, it goes right back to there. You've got the right to rebel against that and not have it. We need to set up our own schools. If parents aren't happy, we just need to say, well, okay, that's your state school. I'm not, you're irrelevant to me. And people just need to do this grass movements of changing things can only come from the bottom up. Nobody top down is going to help, are they? Because they're all invested in this nonsense and complicit. So, the more that parents can say, do you know what, we'll have our own school, even if it's some people can't contribute to that school because they have to work, because they haven't got enough money coming in. But we basically need to send that message that we'll educate our kids ourselves. And okay, you've got your rules about how many children we've got, but they're your rules. This is our community. We'll do it. And I really think that, people have just got to sort of make these, because people are very frightened, aren't they? They're frightened that the police will come around. They're frightened that they'll get summoned by the court, by these faceless bureaucracy. They're frightened that all these things will happen. But if the community in significant numbers just say, sod it, we're not doing this. We don't want this. We want pure, wholesome children who are going to grow up to be moral fabrics of the society. And this is important. You are destroying the moral fabric of society with your sexualization of children and putting it into all the different lessons. We don't want that. Why would anybody want that? So, what you're doing is fantastic stuff. And people all over the world now, people need to stand up to tyranny, and they need to realize it's happening because the power is with us.
Yeah,
it is.
absolutely.
What I noticed, Richard, is, my grandparents were a huge influence in my life.
Yes.
And I'm proud that I do still have very kind of old-fashioned values that they do. But when they decided to get everyone out to work and start paying for childcare, they wouldn't pay family members
Which is
to
ridiculous.
help you out. So if you want to get help to go back to work, and you want to go back to work, the childcare, you won't get any help if it's going to go to a grandparent with those. So it's okay to put them into a school with the children, childcare with the child doesn't know, stranger, but they won't. They won't support. That you want to pay your mum,
which just
or
tells
your
you
sister,
more what they're trying to do in here,
exactly.
they take you away from the family anyway.
And I know, Richard, you also have. They've taken away, our
traditional
values
moral
in this country. That's why I think why you've become such a success. One, you mentioned about it was Neil Oller, you were questioning, but that was originally your channel, wasn't it? Really, just exploring the English country, being English.
Yes, traditional values, customs, common sense a lot of the time. And it seems that over the last 70 years, whatever, lots and lots of little rights have been taken away, or customs and things have slowly eroded. They've chipped away to turn us into where we are today. And if it continues, we'll be in even a worse situation. And it's through every generation, of course. So if they can get hold of the children before they're 7, as we just said, and indoctrinate them, as those children grow up, they'll lose those values. I mean, I'm of that age where I have one foot in the analog, old-fashioned way of doing things and one foot in the digital way of doing things, and I can see the advantage and disadvantages of both. Digital is fantastic. I can go out and make my films and get them uploaded within a few hours. I don't have to do much. The old-fashioned way, we had to develop your film and you held it all up and you cut it with scissors and you spliced it together. But there was something wholesome and true and genuine and authentic in the old way. And we have the tools of the new way, and we should use them as tools, but it's not everything. And I feel that, as you said, everything is coming down on this digital way so that you can influence children in the games they play, in the television that they watch, in the classroom. And no disrespect to teachers, and I'm not blaming teachers per se, but they all seem, me at my age now, seem incredibly young and not worldly wise, and they haven't had a lot of time to sort of actually know what the world is about. They've come from university where they've already been indoctrinated, and they seem to not be able to see the sense that sexualizing children at such a young age is a bad thing. I mean, what teacher? A teacher of my age would look at that and go, what?
Yeah.
You know, but an indoctrinated younger teacher, and as I say, it's not them personally I'm getting at, but they've already been got at so that they will acquiesce and say, yeah, this is, oh yeah, no, I can see this is to protect the child. Obviously, we teach them these very grotesque sexual things, or not necessarily grotesque, but they're grotesque at that age. You know, when you're older and 18, what you do in your sex life is a completely different thing. But it's inappropriate to be teaching that, even though they may say it's self-guarding so they can understand what perhaps a grown-up is supposedly doing. But it does seem actually they're being more like groomed.
Just grooming,
Of course it is. Like, children copy anyway, don't they? If you give children information about something, they're not going to say, oh, okay, I won't do that until I'm an adult.
That's right.
They're going to be curious.
Just park that over there, and now I know, you know, what to do. As soon as I'm of the age, I'll get my box of tissues out and my naughty mag, and I'm away.
Yeah.
And that is what they're promoting as well.
I want to say hello to Julia because she's watching. She's just left a message on YouTube. So we're just monitoring those. So this time, the last two, we didn't have as much help, but we've got great loads of help and people jumping on board for this one. So we're going to be we're just sorting our lighting system
we will
out.
Get it
We
in,
will get the lighting right.
Where it's always
by
like
3
this.
4 o'clock, the lighting will be fine. Jason's
around
worked all night to make us a virtual studio for us.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. So do you think it will last? I mean, you're obviously going to be talking about this.
Before. I mean, don't get me wrong, we will get. Well, I say we will. I hope not, but there is a very high possibility that
around 24 hours
we'll start to get the giggles a little bit, which
Excellent.
is a little bit annoying on something like this because of the content. But you know, like when you've just been
we can't cope.
Awake, and on the first one, me and Lou, we had to do it just singly in the end because if we were anywhere near each other or could even see each other, then we would end up laughing. It was ridiculous, so we had to just do it one at a time.
So what kind of snacks or food are you eating to keep you going?
We've had a breakfast because our lovely, the lady who put us up here, she cooked us breakfast this morning. So and she's doing us something to eat later on, and we'll just have a few nibbly bits in between. I guess we'll be all right. We'll be fine.
We just keep thinking why we're doing it.
So no, absolutely.
That's the main cause. You know, we've got to support these parents. We've got to save our kids. I mean, the teachers, I just wanted to bring this up with you, Lucia. You're hearing stories where the teachers are frightening the children when they're talking about the birds and the bees, and they're talking about the girls, talking about they're going to bleed. There's going to, you know, and they're petrified. And we're hearing cases now of that's one of the main reasons these girls, you know, they're pushing the girls to cut off their genitalia and have the puberty blockers because they're petrified. I don't want to be a girl.
I don't want to
bleed. I want to be a boy. Why can't I be a boy?
Yeah. I mean,
and this is what's going on. I mean, this is being talked to them by the teachers.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's mad. You just ask the teacher, all right, then you do it first. You do it. You cut your genitals off and see how you like it. See if you want to change your mind halfway round.
Well, it's this message as well that they're giving them, like if you don't like the body you're in,
Yes.
then perhaps you are born in the
can have
wrong
a new
body.
one,
Now,
yeah.
when we're talking about especially young girls, going back to when I was a young girl, not many girls like the body, they're there looking at other people thinking they'd rather look like them.
Yeah.
That's, do you know what I mean?
It's natural. It's
Yeah.
normal for it to already feel,
a bit
uncomfortable type of
insecure,
thing. Yeah.
and and now they're putting this on them, sort of saying, "Oh, do you really want, these
These
thighs
bits, they can
and-"
be cut off, and you won't
Yes.
have any future effect from it, which is a complete and utter lie, as we know, because there are thousands upon thousands of what they call detransitioners who've obviously transitioned and then decided they've made a huge mistake. And these are the people that are completely silent. You don't hear any of these. I
No.
mean, actually, there are a few. They're only on alternative media, of course. They're the only place that you're going to find these they're victims because they were manipulated when they were young and vulnerable into something that their brain wasn't able to handle. So
Yes.
now that they're older and their brain can, finally realize what's gone on, and they realize they've had top surgery, double mastectomy, and if they can even have children, which is unlikely, they're certainly not going to be able to breastfeed from a female to male scenario. Likewise, from a male to female scenario, having the penis chopped off later on in life. This is why a lot of the suicide attempts happen is after
they
Yes, of
transition,
course.
not before, because they'll make the excuse that, the reason that there's such a high suicide rate among the transgender community is because they're not being accepted and they're being
Right.
bullied and this, that, and the other. And it's like, that's not the case at all. It's afterwards when they've gone through that transitioning process and realize they've made a huge mistake, and then they've got nowhere to turn because they've alienated their lives before they became transgender. Anyone within the transgender community then attacks them
Yes.
and rejects them, and you weren't really trans, even though they've had all the surgery, and they're in more of a mental state than they were before they started.
Yeah,
So if you-
and also young people are getting lied to as well. Like, I was speaking to he was a trans girl, like he was a boy transitioned to a girl, he was only 13. It was when we were demonstrating in Cardiff, and he was quite, she, I should say she, because he would want to be a she. I thought it was a girl at first.
I did as well.
Absolutely looked like a teenage girl. It's only when, she started talking, you could hear the voice. Now, this individual believed that he was on the waiting list for hormone blockers. He genuinely believed that it was fully reversible if he changed his, because I said, don't do anything permanent. You may change your mind as you get older. As a 13-year-old person, you might change your mind. And he was like, it doesn't matter. If I change my mind, I just stop taking them. And we know that it causes irreversible damage. The information is out there. But these children who are going on the waiting list and going to these clinics, themselves and their parents are not informed about the actual dangers and the fact that it is actually irreversible. You can't just pause puberty.
No.
You can't. Like, what?
Without having an effect on everything else, including the brain development of that
Exactly.
child, it's
So, I was just thinking then when you were talking, imagine that you go back 150 years to an old Victorian classroom, and there is the teacher trying to sort of say the same things to the kids, and they go home and they say this sort of stuff. What here, Mr. Jones was saying this, and you'd imagine that the laugh, the ridicule that would happen throughout to this ridiculous notion that the teacher was trying to ply. And if the kids did have anybody to compare to, they're just going to compare to quite a small classroom that they were in and the villages that they were around, and they would be able to talk to grown-ups who'd lived and said, do you think this is a good idea? But now, of course, we have the internet and we have Instagram and we have the ability to change the pictures and manipulate it so that, so if you're thinking about it, you're being subjected to all the, let's say, the glossy images of those who have been successful or at least look successful. So if you change from one gender to another, they all look, very marvelous. You're not seeing the ones that didn't work terribly well, where, one breast is hanging down here and, things haven't worked out, or they're just, as you say, suicidal, or they're miserable, or they've got all the scars and they're not happy. So the kids are, again, it's this ability that the digital manipulation of everything is coming down at the kids to think that this is such a marvelous and wonderful thing. And they stay within that community, that that virtual bubble of everyone saying, oh no, it's good, you should do it, instead of a real community back in the 1950 years ago, where the community was said, what kind of bloody notion are you listening to? You know,
well, it's like when you go to the poorer countries where they haven't got all this technology.
Yeah.
Like was it Matt Walsh did that documentary, and then he went to people in these
doesn't
tribes,
compute at all.
He said about if a man dresses a woman, is they a woman? And they were like,
they were laughing, and they were looking at each other like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, don't work like that.
They couldn't even contemplate it. The thought of it was just absolutely bizarre to them, as it should be to everybody else.
Yeah,
and that's not to take away those who genuinely. The thing is, there are people out there who suffer with gender dysphoria, whether that be influenced around them or not, and there are real victims out there, and they sort of get swept up in this.
Yes,
it must be. And the activists and the sort of organisations then that are dealing with, like your likes of Stonewall and Mermaids and Jigsaw, the big trans sort of lobbyist groups then, seem to have all this power and massive influence all over the social media platforms, which is going into the minds of our children, and it's like, it is huge. And that's the other thing with the schools, actually, because a lot of people are saying, are they not being taught that? Are they not being, but what's happening is the teacher knows that they actually, a lot of them know that they don't really know what they're doing. So what they do is they go and they have a look for the so-called experts on RSE, which are these non-regulated, non-vetted organisations, and they're the ones who are sort of pointing them into the realms of pornography and pointing them into this really, really bad areas for children to even be looking at, and they're seeing them as the experts, and there's no regulation, none.
No regulation at all.
The advocates for this queer theory, don't they? Queer theory is something that, is what our own Welsh curriculum is based on. It's based on queer theory. So, we know it's bad. Anybody that looks into it knows it's bad. But unfortunately, there's so many people that just thinks that queer theory is just about being inclusive, when in fact, it's about actually discluding
anything
people.
Goes.
Yeah, and like the heteronormal couple, man, woman, seems to be, like it seems to be all the way down here on the list.
Yeah, well,
you've got all the different
do as I will,
Yeah.
They even say, actually, a lot of these people and organisations say their aim is to smash heteronormativity.
Yeah.
Great, that's nice. At least they're upfront about it, I suppose.
That's the thing they are telling us.
Yeah, like how are humans going to, sort of continue being if there's no man and woman relationship?
Well, I think that's part of the plan, isn't it? That seems to be, another attack on humanity. What are the other parents, when you're talking to parents in the playground? Because it's a long time since I've been in the playground, and if I turned up on my own, I'd feel a little bit awkward. And that's probably a good thing that I would feel awkward, but what about other parents? When you talk to just your average, are they also on board with the kids, or do they sort of think it's, because what parents now are what, sort of 30? Well, they've always been the same age. I don't know why. It's like the age of parents suddenly changed.
That's definitely so far. That's the quote of the weekend.
The age of parents have changed because I've got older. They all seem much younger. No, but parents now, of course, they're all from a different generation. So, what do they say when when you talk to them?
Well, we get different. We are getting different responses, really, and it's not actually dependent on age, because we have got a lot of supporters who are young, in their 20s.
Yeah.
And then we have got people who are sort of older than me, who actually agree that children should be learning about all these. So it is a mixed bag. It is definitely a mixed bag. But what we are finding, which is most worrying, is that a lot of people who are disagreeing are not doing anything about it. Because if all those people that agreed with us were doing something about it, we wouldn't be having to take it to court, really.
We wouldn't have by now. If everyone could just maybe give 10 minutes of their day and get off the subject of COVID or 5G. I know they're very important. I'm not saying that these aren't important subjects, but this every minute another child is being groomed and encouraged to mutilate their bodies or give consent to the milkman to come and touch them.
Yes,
this is the risk. So like if we can weigh it up, I know it's a difficult subject, and I feel like I'm just a broken record because I keep repeating this. It is difficult subject. It does make people feel uncomfortable, but why we stay silent is going to go on. They're just going to continue it.
Yes.
So it needs to be on everybody's lips. I mean, I don't know how you got on after you had Kimberly and I on, Richard, and I don't know what the feedback was for your listeners, because what I've noticed over the years is the minute you start talking about the children, and we're going to have a guest on tomorrow who's the perfect person to discuss this, Belinda.
Oh yeah.
A lady went through hell, but the minute you start talking about you get attacked. And the trolls come out. It's literally the subject of the children seems to generate attack, and we've seen it from a group currently doing it on yours. I mean, Catherine had one of her pages broken down as a memorial page, didn't you, on Facebook? She had her Facebook closed down because they said when she tried to log in, they said this account is no longer viable. It's a memorial page.
So if I had I died,
as if she died,
it was very because I used to have about 7 accounts, and one of it, it was just one of them, and I was like, hang on. So somebody had hacked my account and put that I was dead on this. So I can't actually get into
so
that
I
account.
was wondering how the feedback that you had, were there any, did you get attacked because you were covering that subject? Because I know you're banned at the moment.
Maybe that's why he had his ban.
No, I think really, another one.
Yeah.
just I'm not banned anymore. I'm back. I am back now. It's funny because we had I'm just trying to think who they are because they've done so many interviews since. Just looking at my notes in case they were here. It Stops Now. We had 2 guys from It Stops Now, which was a campaign to get MPs to say the sexualization of children is awful, and they wanted MPs to write to they wanted viewers to write to their MPs. Now it's only been on Rumble so far because that was during my ban. And I want to try and get, I've got so many of these things. I want to get more people to watch that video. So I'm going to sort of play a trailer into one of my forthcoming videos as I go through my 7-day ban, the backlog of videos that I made whilst I was banned, and get them onto the channel. But I haven't had any pushback as far as I know. It's very difficult to see all the comments because as the channel grows, you get so many comments, you don't have a lot of time. And emails. I mean, mostly that I have seen, people would agree, but I haven't seen it. But I'm absolutely sure that you do get a lot of, because it gives these people who live in the swamps underneath the bridge, amongst all the sort of dung and nastiness, something to do, doesn't it? Oh, here's a subject I could get into, and out they come with their fingers on the keyboards. It's not worth listening to them. But it's interesting you say that, to give it 10 minutes, to give it a chance and stop talking about some of the other things. And I guess I'm guilty of doing that myself. And I've just written down, I've written down child vlog, which sounds a bit dodgy, but it reminds me that I'll do one in the week, a monologue on my channel about, is it right to do the sexualization, and ask questions, because to me the asking questions makes the audience answer, and it makes them go, oh yeah, actually, is it happening in school? Has it happened to my school? Have I checked it? Have I found out? Have I looked at the curriculum? What do I think about it? Is it a good thing? What will happen to the next generation? I mean, the questions sort of stimulate these thoughts and go on endlessly until hopefully people, I think ultimately inside people, even those on the far extreme left, there is a kernel of decency, a kernel of morals that must be fighting, even though the indoctrination they've got on them is sort of saying, oh yeah, we want more of this, and yeah, this is right. There must be somewhere that little conscience saying, no, you're wrong, and no doubt, as most people in the left, it seems, sort of slowly come towards the center and maybe go to the right as they get older and mature. But we haven't got time for that. We've got to do it now, and if it's not their personal debate, get out of it.
Exactly. If you're not going to rise it, get out. Sit down.
Yeah, take a seat.
You know,
Yeah.
attack people on something else, but you know, leave the children alone.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
it.
that's-
Give them a chance. Just give them a chance.
Exactly.
I think a lot of the time as well, you're finding that people think that they're doing their best to protect the children as well. Because, you know, you've got like the people on the left and they're like, but what about the children that think they're trans? We could say, and they genuinely think,
do, don't they?
yeah,
I know
they
what you
genuinely
mean.
think that there are children suffering because they're born in the wrong body, or because their parents might, you know, not agree with same-sex marriage and they, you know, same-sex relationship, and they may grow up to be gay. Now, but you know, like our stance on it still stands the same. When we're talking about children of primary school age, they shouldn't be exploring any kind of sexuality or any kind of, like, you know, sex, gender, you know, gender
They should
differences.
still be playing in parks and running up
Yeah.
trees, as far as I'm concerned. Do you know what I mean? This is
If you leave the kids, if you don't introduce that subject to the kids, that kid who feels he genuinely is in the wrong body will, if he's in a loving family, will and is encouraged to say the things about whatever it is, you know, whether he doesn't like trucks or he prefers dolls, you know, he will exhibit those signs, and the parents, good parents, will slowly pick them up.
yeah.
And so then if he turns around and says, do you know what, I feel there's something wrong, the parents can very gently take them on that journey, rather than saying, hey, it's a possibility you're in the wrong body.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
oh, right. Oh,
Well,
maybe
there was
yeah.
research stating actually about you know, like children who don't accept that they think they're born in the wrong body, is a massive majority of them actually grow up to accept that they, you know,
Exactly.
they're
It's like
born in the
over
right body.
90% of them, I think, and
it's
it's
a-
left alone, they will go back to wanting. It just comes down to that period, I think, of adolescence where we're all confused anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
absolutely.
That's where it is, and that's where they're hitting the hardest. But if they can, like, going back to what we said earlier, if they can get them younger anyway, by the time they hit that period of adolescence, it's job done.
Confused.
They're already confused. They're already following along with this agenda of, I don't know how many genders. How many are there now? Because they keep changing their mind.
Well, the last time on the first podcast-athon we did, which was August of last year, there were 62 genders.
There was
But
73 recently.
I
as
think
well.
that's now gone up to 73.
There was a
Like it does. I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
100
over
plus
the
years
yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
There must be a whole department that's out there sort of exploring and excavating
Monitoring,
to see,
yeah.
is there any more genders? Can we find, let's get it up to 100. There must be, you know, it's like an archaeologist digging in the like in Dorset and looking for fossils and go, oh look, there's another one, there's another gender.
Yeah, exactly that.
Just found another one.
And that,
Let's
do you know,
put that, write it up.
it's really, what's the word? For an adult, it's confusing, right?
Mm.
So what must it be doing to these children who just want to learn their ABCs? Do you know what I mean? And they're being fed this stuff that's just confused. What happened in Porthcawl, you know, with our school, our primary school, where they had the dress-up box, but they only had princesses?
Oh, listen to this
Yeah.
story, Richard. Listen to this one, and audience.
Yeah, it's a little boy. Well, the parent actually just happened to see a little boy on the parent app dressed in a princess dress. So when he came home, you know, she was asking him, "Oh, you were dressed in a princess? That's a bit you don't normally do," because he's a boy, proper boy, you know. And he actually burst out crying because she said, "It's always a bit silly you dressing in a princess dress." And he burst out crying, saying, "It's mean to say that someone's silly for a boy dressing as a girl." He actually got really upset about it. So obviously he was told in the classroom that anybody that says you shouldn't wear a dress is a bigot. I don't know what
Racist.
terminology
Yeah,
they
whatever
use.
it
gonna be a
is.
racist.
But when she looked into it, it was the teacher had bought in a load of dressing up clothes just for girls. It was all girl dressing up clothes. So the boys didn't even have a choice. If they wanted to dress up, they had to dress up in these, you know, in these princess dresses. And then they're being told then by the teacher that, you know, anybody that says anything about this, they're nasty people, you know.
I don't know if you've seen recently the story, Richard, Lou, of the Downs children, that they're
I've
now
seen
putting it
that.
onto the Downs children.
Oh,
No, really?
I wouldn't mind bringing Rick in and also to Kimberly and you know, to discuss that further, because, you know, that's that's dangerous. What
Well,
they're
it's
doing.
abuse.
It's abuse.
This is abuse what they do. And they actually had Sam Smith. I don't know if you saw the video. He
Yeah.
had gone in
Wow.
and they were,
He was cuddling Sam Smith was cuddling the Down,
Down
syndrome.
syndrome with
drag
dressed
act.
as drag, and somebody has obviously put that into their head. They did not choose.
Well, there's a
that.
company actually. They're
Oh,
a
it
company
is,
that
yeah.
they go around. But what are your thoughts on that, Richard?
Well, I mean, that's abhorrent if you're doing it to children who have learning difficulties of any time, because by the nature of having a learning difficulty, they are looking to you as parents or a society to help them understand what they can't understand.
Exactly.
And if you've got people who seem to me are very wicked and then saying, well, actually, I think you're a girl or you're a boy, the opposite gender that you are, for the sake of it, for political purposes or point scoring, because, oh, look, I've converted another person. Aren't I a clever person? I've made society so much better. I mean, that is, I'm not really qualified in any way, because I'd not thought, to be honest, I'd not thought of those people who are already in need of assistance. I mean, they're able-bodied and able to think in their own way in many ways, and they're perfectly, what would you say, wonderful individuals. But but where they might struggle in certain areas, and we all struggle in certain. I mean, I can't play the violin. I would need somebody to help me play the violin. But if the person who was teaching me to play the violin said I had to do it in a dress, because that will help me to learn the violin, I'd be a little bit suspicious. But you might go, well, they know what they're talking about. And I think if you've got learning difficulties and somebody's influencing you more like that, you're more trusting, aren't you? You're going to be trusting of somebody. And I mean, and kids, of course, are trusting, but you're taking it one stage further and you're just making that quite evil. Yeah,
well, they're exploiting them, aren't they?
Exactly,
that's what they're doing. They're exploiting them, and they're vulnerable, and they know it. It's not. It's quite. I think even with the transitioning, it's like, is it like a 40% of them, or up to 40% of them, are on the autism spectrum?
Really?
Yeah, because they know that obviously, they already feel confused. They already feel as if they don't fit in. And now they're being swept away in this exciting, glamorous, because that's what they've done, haven't they?
They have glamorized it,
and whatever. And they're getting caught, and they've got this new family. Yeah. And they're saying things to these children like online, if your parents don't understand, but we're your new family, we're here, we'll listen. They're going to get swept along with it, and they are doing, and it's just, well, it's abuse as far as I'm concerned.
No, absolutely, it is totally abuse. I mean, it should be completely illegal. But as you say, there seem to be no, what did you say? There's no standards. There's no
regulation.
Regulation,
so,
that's the
none
word,
of these organisations are regulated or vetted or anything. And in fact, Mermaids, which is one of the influential, one of the bigger ones, there was a bit of a scandal last year with one of the ambassadors or something who was caught. Was he caught masturbating in the building?
Like that,
or even with one of them, I think, had child pornography.
Yeah, I think so.
Wasn't he at a talk or something? Did a talk that was pro paedophilia?
That's what it was.
Previous.
Yes, yeah, and he's like quite high up in Mermaids.
Something.
Yeah. So we've got these people who are influencing our kids, and they've got very questionable backgrounds.
Well, they're not vetted. The pornography industry is not vetted. There's no regulations out there to stop children accessing.
Exactly. And now they're bringing in the children's rights. So a child has the right to choose. And there's been the report, I think it was last week, that the UN are wanting to move forward with the children's rights, where if the postman, that they've known for ages, is walking around, comes and wants to touch you, if you say, well, that's okay, it's consent, then nothing's going to happen to them. The child's given consent. They don't need to understand. They need, as Kimberly always says, they need the word no. And children don't. We need parents' rights, as Kimberly keeps talking about, and yourselves. It's the parents who need the rights.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
Parents no longer have a leg to stand on.
They don't. They've been told that in judicial review, in case law.
And they're told. My daughter, and she's 20, 22 now. She was told when it was time for her GCSEs that she should not, don't bring it home and don't ask your parents, because you don't want to get influenced by your parents or what they want to do. Yeah, for her GCSEs, she shouldn't come home and discuss it with me.
I was uni, or which uni or whatever.
That was her GCSEs, that was at school.
It is. It's really quite sinister.
It
And
is sinister.
by taking parents have got the right to protect their children. That's
Exactly.
and that's a fundamental right. That's how it should be. But unfortunately now with this education, we have had children as young as 5 coming home, and when their parents have given them food. Now kids do rebel against their parents. I understand that. The mum's given them the food, and the little boy has turned around and said, "I'm not eating that. My body, my choice."
Yeah.
So if they're thinking that at 5 now, not listening to mum and dad because it's my decision. So let's look at a scenario where maybe an 11-year-old girl is being groomed by a groomer online, and she thinks this groomer loves her. Well, it's her choice, isn't it? Something to do with her parents.
My body, my choice.
Exactly.
Yeah, no,
So that's where we are, Richard.
Yeah.
We would love it if you could put a plug and ask people to donate to the fundraiser. I mean, we've got it up on screen. It is linked, and it's too long for me to say out loud, but you can go to publicchildprotectionwales.org, go to donate. You will find Podcast-athon 2 and 3, but it's in under every video that this is streaming on. There is a fundraising link up there. I just want to make it clear, and while we have Lucia here, there's a rumour, you know how the rumours go, that Liberty Tactics is we're getting funded by Public Child Protection Wales. That is not the case. Every single penny that Liberty Tactics has raised has gone, has it not, directly to Public Child. It doesn't come anywhere near me. We don't get any funding. We do this ourselves with some amazingly loyal people who want to help us, just to get petrol here and stuff. So Richard, could you please just give a plea that why it's important for people to click on that donation link and just give the cost of a couple of pints if they're going out on, and seeing the football or whatever's on today?
Yes. So, well, I would definitely say to our lovely viewers and those viewers who are watching after the event or joining at any time, this is one of the most fundamental things that we must address, because our children are the future. And if they are so confused by the indoctrination of and the sexualization and not in control of their own bodies and not able to say no to grown-ups, things that we have known for millennia, if we're not able to help those children to be assured that their body is for them and it's not for anybody else, then I don't know where we are. So please, this is a very important case. The money goes to the court case to help the parents, to protect those, so that some of these measures will go away. And of course, not only donate, a couple of pounds, maybe more, tenner, something like that. I'm personally putting in £100 as soon as I am released from here. I shall go to my bank and shove in some money, because I think it's our future. And I have grandchildren, and I don't want them once they go to school to have anything like this put upon them. I don't want my children, who will be my grandchildren's parents, of course, to have that strange pressure from their peers to say, no, it's a good thing. It should happen, because it's just wrong. And I come from a tradition where that is so bleeding obvious that everybody should know that. But for whatever reason, life has changed so much, and now we're even the ridiculous nature of all of this is that we're debating this. We shouldn't have to debate this. This should be so obvious. So if you've got any money, and even if you haven't, send it all to the Child Protection.
Amazing. Richard Vobes, thank you so much. And
my pleasure.
We'd love to have yourself and the lovely Julia come on as well with us sometime and have a chat.
More than happy. We may be around tomorrow, so we might be able to sort of crash in.
That would be wonderful. Just give us, you've got my text, just give me a text.
Yes, we'll do.
If I don't leave it in some random toilet somewhere, if I don't leave my phone somewhere like I do. But
Brilliant stuff.
Thank
Good
you.
luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
yeah, I don't know what
Richard.
state we'll be in tomorrow, but thank you so much.
It's worth
Thank
checking
you,
in,
Rich. It's
isn't
been
it?
lovely to meet you.
Yes,
Thank you.
lovely
God
to meet
bless
you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Keep donating.
And thanks for
Bye-bye.
your donation.
My pleasure. I should go and do it
Thank
now.
you. So guys, we're doing this for Public Child Protection Wales again, the third time. www.publicchildprotectionwales.org. You can go there. It's under Podcast-athon round 3, and that's what we're at. We're round 3. We want to make it bigger. It's already looking better. We never had a virtual studio that Jason's been working on all night and doing this, and we've been donated somewhere to do it. So thank you, Brian. Rihanna, we're going to be thanking Rihanna the whole weekend for looking after us.
She's there. Oh, yeah, definitely.
She really is. She really, even though I did get my face nearly bit off by a French bulldog, that's okay. That's fine.
He's friendly, really.
Yeah, he is friendly. So we maybe will play a little promo video out very quickly now, if that's all right with Rick. We're going to have Matt Letitia coming up in about 45 minutes. Now, any business owners, if you've got a little 30-second advert that we could possibly play out for you tomorrow, 30 seconds already made, we will play that out as many times as a tenner or £20, £10 or £20 every time you want it played out, and we might be able to play it out as long as it's all formatted right. And Rick's probably sitting there absolutely screwing now because I'm saying this, just giving him more work to do. But we're doing it for the gig. It will sort it. So if you want to donate 20 quid and you've got a little video that you want to for your business or something, let us promote it throughout this weekend, because even when this is finished, it's going to be split up. Rick's going to be editing overnight to split it down into each hours, so people can pick their favourite guest. But I do encourage people to stick with us because it's going to get messy. So any more words from you, Kat, at the moment before we play a little advert before we come back?
Just donate, guys, and share. If you share it on as many, because we're Public Child Protection Wales and Liberty Tactics and me, and we're all censored or restricted or whatever it is. It's the one thing that I say the one thing they don't want to get out. There's lots of things they don't want to, but in particular, this one, out of all of the censorship I've had over the last 13 years, this is by far the biggest time. So, and same with Liberty Tactics as well in
ridiculous.
there. So we know that we're pushing those buttons which need to be pushed. The only thing they can do now is silence us. So if you can just share on, I know lots of people got multiple social media platforms, Instagram and I can't even think of them. Twitter,
True
Social,
people have got
Facebook,
Snapchat.
LinkedIn,
I don't understand that Snapchat thing.
I don't understand
No,
it.
don't get that
The
at all.
kids
Yeah, TikTok,
whatever ones that you're able to. If you can just share the
it'd be nice to have
the
got up
link,
to $8,000 really.
the live
Not on
stream,
$8,000
we
even
will be
yet.
there.
We will be there.
£6 off £8,000, is it?
No,
Sorry,
46.
£46.
I need
off.
glasses.
This is the accountant in the room.
I do need glasses though. It screens I can't see.
We're going to come back in a moment if Rick's
we'll be
ready
back
to
in
do
a
a little break.
And I'm actually going to shoot off because I've got other things I have to do. I'm not going to be here for the 36 hours. Like
cheers.
You bravely.
Cheers, Lou.
But yeah, I am going to need to shoot off. So thank you so much for having me.
That's all right.
It's an absolute honour sitting next to the two of you on this. And obviously our first guest was amazing as well. So lovely to meet Richard. And I just want to say before I go thank you to you too. Thank you to the rest of the team at Liberty Tactics, and thank you to everyone who's been supporting us so far. Because we would not be able to do this without our supporters. And we started our organisation back in 2020, September 2020.
Yeah.
Since then, we have grown exponentially. Huge. Our following is massive. We've got like 21 WhatsApp groups, which is 21 local authorities, all fighting this. And each one of those groups, they're all doing their thing, raising awareness in their area. So, you know, without all these people who, you know, I say a lot of people are not doing anything about it, but there are lots of people who are.
It's just that not everyone is, and we believe that we all should be. But there is a big support, and that's going to just grow. And
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So
So hopefully
Thank you,
Rick's all right to
Lucia.
run a little advert, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.